everybody in EDU 271. Wanted to give an overview of Module 2. So to start with, let's go to our task list, which always tells us what we're reading and turning in for each module. So you'll see for this one, we're reading Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 3 out of the textbook. In the reading folder, which I'll open in a minute and show you, there's also associated chapter overviews and PowerPoints to go with those chapters, if that would facilitate your understanding of the material at all. Also, there's a class website overview, which I'm going to open and go over in a minute, and a virtual field trip overview. And again, those are both found in the reading folder. I'll show you that in a moment, and we're going to look at the documents as well. You'll see here there's a little note telling us that we're going to read about and should begin working on the class website and virtual field trip during this module, but it's not due till Module 5. As you know, these modules come up kind of quickly with the due dates, and those two particular projects are things you're probably going to want to spend a little bit more time on. So therefore, I've made it so you're introduced to them here, but they're not due yet until down in Module 5. So to turn in this time, you're going to do the Chapter 1 review. Those reviews are kind of like quizzes on the Moodle page, and you click on them. They ask you true, false, and multiple choice questions. The timing of them are such you should have enough time to look in your book. However, you would not from scratch probably have enough time to look in your book and look up every single answer. You would want to have read the chapter first and at least be familiar with the content, so if you weren't sure of an answer, you would have time to flip to that particular part of the chapter, being that you've read it before and know where that part of the chapter is. So again, you at least want to read first before taking those. Then you have the Module 2 forum, very, very similar to Module 1 forum, where you're going to make an original post and then reply to at least 2 classmates with something substantial. And again, I point out again here another note that you're going to read about and begin working on the class website and the virtual field trip, but it's not due until Module 5. Okay, so then here's the due date for the module as well. And so now let's go ahead and jump to the reading folder that I had mentioned. Excuse me while I scroll a second. Okay, so here it is. We just looked at the task list. Then here's the reading folder. In the reading folder, you'll see, just like I mentioned, there's a PowerPoint for Chapter 1 and some Chapter 1 class notes. PowerPoint for Chapter 2, Chapter 2 class notes. PowerPoint for Chapter 3, Chapter 3 class notes. And then you'll see the virtual field trip and the creating a class website. There's also a metacognition activity. That really probably won't make any sense to you. I leave it in there because it's an activity I do when I teach the class as a hybrid or face-to-face. So don't become confused or uncertain about things if you see that. So let's take a minute to open up the Word documents. So the first one here I've opened is creating a class website. So it gives us a word of caution. These are things that are also pointed out in your book as well. Then I go into describing free websites that are available for teachers, and then point out that you could also use Google to create a Google community that can facilitate and work in the same way as a website. And I do give you the opportunity to use what you'd like to use, but everybody's graded according to the same grading rubric for this assignment. I suggest Weebly or Google Plus to complete the assignment, but again, you're not limited to those. Weebly I've had pretty good success with. I've had 1 or 2 students who were comfortable enough making a Google Plus community because they were very, they like Google Docs and they were very familiar with Google. And the ones who did it, they turned out great. I just haven't had as many people comfortable enough to do that. So here are an overview of Weebly and what it can do for you. And then here's an overview of what Google Plus can do for you. And then again, it doesn't matter what you use, everybody's going to be graded the same thing. You have to be able to share a working link for your website. If you can't direct me how to get to it, and let's say in the case that you're actually teaching, if you can't direct your families with how to get to it, then the website is of little or no use to anybody. So that's a really important piece. And then you customize the page by adding color, but making sure too that the color is not something that overcomes the text or makes it difficult to read. So you want to make sure that you keep the combinations easy on the eyes. And then you're going to add some classroom news, and you can make that up if you're not currently working. And you're going to add some graphics, at least two, and that might be a picture of you, a picture of children. It might just be more of a clip art type photo that goes along with the news article. Whatever works is fine, but you need at least two. Some educational links. So you're going to add a link that parents can click on to go somewhere else. So a lot of times it might be to a parent page that gives parenting tips, or it might be to something like PBS Kids, or something that educational related that they could use to go along with what you're doing in the classroom. So whatever you would like to do, you can gear them either way. The links can be for parents. The links could be for parents to let their child have access to. Again, your call. And then you need something to make the website a little bit interactive. So you can have a class calendar that's constantly changing and updating with current events of your classroom, or you can have a discussion forum that families can actually interact with you and each other. You could do either calendar or discussion. It's up to you, but you don't need to do both. And definitely if you put it up there, at least put something in it so I could see that it is something that you would be able to use as an interactive feature. So the points for all of those things are listed there. And if you have any questions or trouble getting started, by all means let me know. Once you get to Weebly, by the way, you would want to create a teacher site, and you would want to use your school email with the EDU. And you'll create the site, make sure you write down what you use as your username and all of that so you can get back in it and continue working on it. So next, let me give you an overview of, let me get out of this one, and let me give a quick overview of the virtual field trip. So the first thing here is that you would want to gather your information and decide what you're going to use. I need to point out that I almost every semester have somebody who totally misunderstands this assignment and thinks that they're going to plan out a real live, we're going somewhere field trip. Now, I say it many times in the direction, but somehow it escapes people every single semester. You do not do that. What you're doing is you're finding somewhere, let's say you have no transportation or no funds to take children somewhere, which is a very big reality in education right now. So let's see what we could do. If you really wish you could take kids to the zoo but can't, what could you do virtually instead so that it would be similar to that experience? So virtually means you're going to visit something online using video, live stream, again, virtual reality, any number of things like that that you could come up with. Or it could be even videos and photos that you yourself have taken from somewhere cool that you went that you turn into a virtual field trip. Any of those are fine. But telling me that you're going to load the kids onto the bus and take them to the zoo would not be fine for this assignment. So some background information here about what is streaming video and virtual reality, and your book also talks about that in this module's chapters. And so here are some examples of streaming video and places that you very well might find and use virtual field trip ideas from. And then the virtual reality, again, here are some of those as well. Again, you can see here's a perfect example, the San Diego Zoo. You can go there and they have some great webcams. There's a sample up, which I'll show you in a minute in your class site, and it actually uses the San Diego Zoo. It's one that I made specifically as an example. So once you feel like you kind of have that down pat of where it would be that you would want to take the kids, and then what kind of technology are you going to use to virtually take them there, then this is the order and what needs to be included in the assignment. You need to give it an exciting name, just like if field trips are exciting, we want this virtual field trip to also be exciting. Give a brief overview of the trip, make sure you make me want to go, provide some basic information, tell me the age, the grade the trip is for, key vocabulary, key concepts, background information that will facilitate learning. Then I want you to do one pre-trip activity for students. When we go on an actual real-life field trip with students, we always do something before we take them so they have some background information. So you're going to do the same thing here. And then the trip goals or objectives would be next, and then the technicalities. Tell me how this trip will work. For example, is it self-guided that they navigate the website or the video on their own? Is it whole group, small group? Is it going to follow? Are they going to follow a direction sheet? Will this be something you're showing on a smartboard in front of the class and all the children are participating together? So again, kind of give me a heads up on how you envision them using this virtual technology that you have embedded to make this a field trip. Then how will you engage students during the trip? So what will they do? So you'll see in the example that's up one way to do that. And then just like any field trip, usually when we come back, we do a follow-up activity. So I want you to do that here too. So sometimes if it's like a trip to the farm, you might write a letter to a farmer, or you might draw a picture of your favorite thing that you saw on the trip. So whatever follow-up activity, it should be very similar to what we would do with a hands-on field trip that we actually went to physically. So you're going to put all of this in either a Microsoft Word document or a PowerPoint, totally your choice, whatever you're more comfortable with. You could use another format as well. As long as I can open it, you're good to go, and you'll turn that into me. So with that in mind, and as we get closer to Module 5 when it's due, I will talk about these things again more in the overviews, videos that I make, and I'll show you a sample of the class website. And right now I'm going to show you in our class where the sample virtual field trip is. So here is, again, here's our Module 2 that we're in now. There was the task list that we looked for, the module reading we just reviewed. Then here is the sample virtual field trip. So you could literally open that up, and hopefully you're going to see that soon. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, there it is. Okay, there it is. So here is a PowerPoint, and I'm not going to go over all of it, but you'll see that, because you can look through this, you do have access to it, but you'll see it's my catchy name and makes you want to go, I hope, and then the overview, then what we hope to accomplish, the objectives, then here is a pre-trip activity, then here is the technicalities of how we're going to actually carry out the trip. Here's the actual video that we use for the virtual field trip. So that is a video right there. And then a follow-up activity is here of what we would do. So that is my example of a virtual field trip that you can definitely check out and take your time looking through, so that you can see an example of what you should be including and how to possibly lay it out. Again, you can use a different format, it doesn't have to be PowerPoint. So the other thing again, here are those chapter reviews that I told you about, and here's the Module 2 forum. So that's everything for Module 2, and again, you do not want to put off getting ready for the virtual field trip and the class website. If not, that would be an awful lot to try to complete all in one module in Module 5 when it's due. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and I will talk to you soon.